the faith.
This is the way. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Tells me when you're from Memphis.
Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optix podcast, brought to you by the Drive-In Podcast Network, where we discuss film, TV, and all things Hollywood. I'm your host, Christian, and I'm joined by Ryan McQuaid from Insights from Film and Awards Watch, and Nicole Ackman from Next Best Picture, and of course, Matt Wyatt making his return again here on the podcast as we continue our 20 years of magic with our Harry Potter movie series with The Prisoner of Azkaban. And before we begin today's show, you can listen to our podcast on platforms around the internet. And if you're a new or seasoned listener to the show, we would love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Film Optix. So let's go around the roundtable here. I guess we can talk about. So Ryan, how are you? I'm happy to have you back, man. It's been a while.
It's always good to talk to you, man. Yeah, I mean it's been a couple of weeks. We talked about Bond the last time I was here, and I was privy to learn of this Harry Potter extravaganza that you guys are having on, and you've had JD from In Session Film on the first one, and you've had Brendan on for the second one, and now I'm here for the third one. And I challenge you to never invite Jay onto one of these things, who is actually the biggest Harry Potter fan probably of the bunch of us. So do not invite him. And if you have, disinvite him immediately. He does not deserve it. And no, I'm just kidding. I love Jay. It's great being here. And if you can tell by my mood, I'm in a very good mood.
No, it's all right, man. We're happy to have you back. It's a big project. I honestly, I didn't forget about this, but I was like, oh yeah, we have Prisoner of Azkaban. And then I knew Goblet of Fire is coming up, and I was like, I should probably start on that. But yeah, it's been crazy myself, but I'm going to pass it over to Nicole. How have you been?
I'm good. Like Ryan, I'm in a bit of a silly, goofy mood. So who knows where this is going to go. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to talk about Remus Lupin on a podcast where it's actually relevant. Unlike whenever I decided to talk about him discussing a movie he's not in. But no, I'm so happy to be back for this. So thank you very much.
No problem at all. And last but not least, Matthew, how are you today?
Yeah, it's very good to be back. I mean, the first time I was on here, we were talking about the season finale of What If, and it was fun to talk about it. And then the last time I was on here, we were doing the Chamber of Secrets, and I had a great discussion. So I can't wait to talk about Prisoner of Azkaban, which is my favorite of the series.
Yeah, so Matt's actually been rewatching Harry Potter, much like I have, but he's already done.
Overachiever.
What an overachiever you are. Congratulations, Matt.
I watch it like a fire on all cylinders.
Some of us just watched one movie.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Some of us just did the assignment.
I was just like scrolling through Twitter. He's like, not watching Prisoner of Azkaban, not watching Goblet of Fire. I was like,
I beat all of you guys.
He said, is there extra credit?
Exactly. It's like,
I'm
do I
getting
get
a
extra
bonus.
credit for watching the Fantastic Beasts?
50 points.
Yes.
50 points if you can explain the crimes of Grindelwald.
There were none. I mean, okay, he broke out.
What are his crimes? I mean, really?
There were no crimes.
Got to prison. What
He made like an awesome blue
The problem is that he was wearing too many scarves.
They're all fashion
Johnny
crimes,
Depp.
actually. It's just fashion crimes.
all
Too much
crimes.
too much cologne by Dior or wherever the hell he wears.
full of bleach hair.
He went with Abercrombie and Fitch that day.
Yeah,
So.
there you go.
I actually used to work there. Not gonna lie, I was like, whew, I love that cologne so much growing up. Not anymore. It's literally like ingrained like in my DNA. I'm like, I can't, like, anytime I sense it, I'm like, that's Abercrombie and Fitch, like 100%. It is crazy stuff. But yeah, I'm glad you guys are all having a great day. Apologize for my voice. It is a bit raspy. Don't know why. I chugged like 2 things of coffee today. So we'll see where that takes me. But yes, we are here to talk about The Prisoner of Azkaban. Very excited. One of my favorites in the series. I say that every podcast, but when I was a kid, I didn't really care for this one because of the Dementors. Scared the crap out of me. And my mom's like, okay, I can't take you to see these movies anymore because she loved the first 2. And I was like, no, but Mom, like, I mean, come on, like, seriously, it's all good. But we're about to get started with our Prisoner of Azkaban review right after this short break.
What's this rubbish?
What's this rubbish, she says. That there is the secret to our success.
It's a wrench giving it to you, believe me.
But we've decided your needs are greater than ours. George, if you will.
I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Messrs. Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot and Prongs are proud to present the Marauder's map.
We owe them so much.
Hang on. This is Hogwarts. And that... no. Is that really...
Dumbledore.
In his study.
Pacing.
Does that a lot.
So you mean this map shows...
Everyone.
everyone?
Everyone.
Where they are.
What they're doing.
Every minute of every day.
Brilliant. Where'd you get it?
Nicked it from Filch's office, of course. First year.
Now listen, there are 7 secret passageways out of the castle. We'd recommend this one.
The one-eyed witch passageway. It'll lead you straight to Honeyduke's cellar.
Be your best hurry. Filch is heading this way.
Oh, and Harry, don't forget, when you're done, just to give it a tap and say, Mischief managed.
Otherwise anyone can read it.
As I watched Nicole mouthing the words.
Not the only one. I just had the mic in my face.
Listen, I'm a bit of a fan. Bit of a fan of the Weasley twins.
Oh, for sure. But of course, as we are here talking today of our Prisoner of Azkaban review, we're just going to get into the meat and potatoes of it. But before we do, I know that Matt and Nicole have kind of given their spiel as to what their introduction to Harry Potter. If you guys want to do more of like an abridged version, because I'm not sure who's going to be listening to what, everyone has their favorite Harry Potter film, and that's all good, and whatnot. But we'll start with Matt. You can give an abridged version. If you want to go deep into it, that's fine. Then we'll do Ryan, since he's actually never given his before. And then we'll end with Nicole.
Yeah, my first introduction was the marketing in the TV spots for the first Harry Potter movie, and I didn't know anything about the franchise. I didn't know about the books. I've heard that it was based on the book, and I didn't read the books until like the 7th grade. I mean, I've only read the first 3, and I only read the first half of the Goblet of Fire, and then Order of the Phoenix, and that kind of fell off a bit afterwards. But I kind of dug the books, and I was like taken by my grandma to go see The Sorcerer's Stone, and I instantly fell in love with this world. I love the casting. I love the trio with Harry, Ron, and Hermione. And I've always wanted to do spells and be a wizard and play Quidditch and all that stuff. And I grew up on the video games. It was full of nostalgia. And I watched like all 8 of them through the theatrical run from beginning to end.
Okay. Beautiful story. I'd love to hear it all again. Ryan, what about you? What was your introduction to Harry Potter?
Well, I think most of us, at least for me, the books were sort of my first, introduction to them. And really it was around when the first movie was announced that it was going to be made. And my parents had this thing, and it sort of tethered me as an adult to my childhood, in that I try to read the books before the movies come out. So I'm looking at you, Dune. That's what I had to do. But it was sort of like, if you can read the book, then your reward is the film. And the first couple of films came out around my mom's birthday, so they're all very like personal, because we would always take her out, and then we would go see the first 2 Harry Potter films. And then this one came out in the summer, if I'm not mistaken. So it kind of threw a monkey wrench into that plan. I was like, we'll just celebrate it 6 months early. I think that it was that. And then of course, like rewatching them, I'm not like a mega fan, I would say, probably like Nicole or like Matt. It's part of our childhood. And I think, you grow up on this, and you grow up on Lord of the Rings a lot when you're a kid of my generation. And so, yeah, they're very, very special to me.
Yeah, they definitely are. I'm surprised that I thought you were as a big of a Harry Potter fan as like. I
can get in the muck if I need to, like if I'm in a bind. And like, I was a big fan of just anything in general when I was a kid. Like I grew up watching the old Star Wars films. We don't need to talk about the prequels. And then, but I think that this was sort of like that. I dressed up as Harry Potter because I had glasses for Halloween, and don't know if you guys knew that about me. I wear glasses. The books are really what I loved. And then, How could you not fall in love with these characters, the world, the lore? And as they but this one especially is really important to me, because like Matt, this is my favorite, but this is also where like it hit me at a time where I was sort of right around the same age as Harry portrayed in the film and Radcliffe, and they start getting darker and you get more mature and you're facing, like where it's actual, like you as a cinephile yourself start to become more like, all right, I don't need like the Sorcerer's Stone or, Chamber of Secrets level of stuff anymore. I need like it to be more elevated. And this is surely what this movie does.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. So we'll pass it off to Nicole and we'll kind of get into the weeds of it all.
Yeah, so I actually didn't properly get into Harry Potter until I was in high school. As I said, the last time I was on, I tried it whenever it was first coming out, tried reading the first book, wasn't interested. And finally in high school, I was like, all right, I'm tired of being like culturally illiterate about this. I'm gonna do it. Ended up watching like all the movies that were out up to that point and reading all the books in like a 4-month time span, I think. So I kind of powered through, and Prisoner of Azkaban has always been my favorite book and my favorite movie, along with Deathly Hallows Parts 1 and 2. Clearly, right. I like the darker stuff. But I just
a bit of an edgier teenage person. I feel
yeah.
Like
other people were into like emo music. I was just into the darker Harry Potter. No, but I think that I've always really connected with. I find like the whole storyline around the Marauders and around Sirius and Remus, and around James Potter and Lily and all of that like really interesting. I in some ways find them more interesting than our golden trio. And so obviously this is a movie that I really connect with. I think it's also one of the first that you can call like a proper coming of age movie, in that Harry is really starting to deal with his problems in a less childlike way, in a more mature way. Before he gets less mature as the movies go on. But yeah, this is honestly one of my like all-time comfort movies. It's a movie I've seen a ton of times, but I did rewatch it specifically for this podcast. And I watched it like in a couple of parts while sort of doing stuff. Cause like, I can basically quote the whole thing, but I will say I was finishing it this morning and I did cry at the while finishing up, at that. There's a line of Sirius's that did make me cry. So obviously, even though I've seen it 1,000 times, it still really emotionally resonates with me.
Yeah. So, and that's a good point to bring up, because I did, of course, rewatch it myself, as I always do. But yeah, as I mentioned before with me, for those of you listening for the first time out there, Harry Potter has pretty much been a part of my life since I was in first grade. First grade teacher used to read a Sorcerer's Stone. Can't remember if it was like, I think it was a chapter a week or a chapter a day. I can't really remember, but and then, of course, no one really knew how big it was. It was kind of just, like, oh, like, let's read this book. And then, boom, the movies come out. I mean, back then, there was a movie for every book and every video game out there. So it's like the early 2000s. It was just, we were riddled and kind of spoiled with a lot of these great franchises. But as I mentioned before, growing up, watching Prisoner of Azkaban when I was younger, because I was like a huge scaredy cat, hated like horror movies, all that stuff. Never really dressed up for Halloween all that much. But going to watch Prisoner of Azkaban, like, I was pretty much scared crapless of like just the Dementors when you were a kid. I mean, this came out in November 2004. So it's like, right after, I guess you could say, the spooky season, but we're still like in the harvest of, fall and whatnot. But for some reason, I wasn't super crazy about Prisoner of Azkaban growing up. It was always my least favorite up until probably like 5-6 years ago, where I'm like, wow, this is actually like really, really good. It's just, one of those things where, as you're rewatching throughout the entire franchise, it's like, man, it's like, why did I not like this when I was a kid? Because it's in my top 3 favorites, like, of the entire franchise itself. And, it deals with so much about depression and just like Nicole said, the coming of age. This is really where Harry kind of starts to, we get to see more about Harry's past. Like you mentioned before, Nicole, the first 2 are kind of more young-ish adults, kiddish adventures, but now we get into like the good stuff for sure. Excuse me. But wanted to kind of pass it around, since we've kind of gone through this. Actually, really quick, Ryan. What is your Hogwarts house?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Of course, I mean,
so I've actually never gotten this answered before, because I never trusted any of the damn tests.
Well,
that's why you have to take all of them. Well,
I know.
That was the most Ravenclaw thing I could have said just now.
Yeah, there you go.
Pottermore.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, some of them have said Gryffindor, some of them have said Ravenclaw, some of them have said Hufflepuff.
I'm gonna claim you. I'm gonna claim you for Ravenclaw. How's that?
Okay, that's fine.
Another one.
There was one Slytherin, but I think I was very dark when I took that.
Hey,
that test,
I'm a Slytherin. I'm like a ray of sunshine over here.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Or is that just my cunning nature?
I know, right? I don't know what it. No, and it's something that I know I should take like all the tests and everything. Maybe I don't know where I would be, but. Also, I don't think houses define us. I think it's about individuals and people. So
sounds like a Hufflepuff thing.
Yeah, that sounded very Hufflepuff. Yeah, I think.
Just all about,
I think that's our answer.
A little bit of you never know. I don't. Also, it's like does it really matter, folks? I mean, what matters is the love of the books and the love of the characters.
Oh, of course.
It's a good color scheme.
Yeah, it's true. And also like, well, then I also like, I love red and blue and I love blue. So I'm a mess. But it's also like, it's about the power of spending $300 on a wand over at Universal Studios. So there you go.
I need to still do that.
Yeah. I've actually been to Universal Studios twice. I went to both parks with Island Adventure and at Universal Studios. I went to Hogwarts and I went to Diagon Alley and I had that chosen wand experience. Like I felt like I was Harry. Oh my God.
And then it was like, wow, I did buy this much? Wow. All right.
And I bought the Legacy Harry Potter one, which that was pretty dope.
Yeah, I own 2 wands. It's fine.
I have a breadstick in the shape of a wand, I think.
Don't think too hard on that.
That I ate during the wedding because they literally had like these super long breadsticks.
I have a mortgage.
And
I don't know where we're going with that one. No.
I have parents who are easily talked into buying souvenirs on family vacations. That's what I have.
Yeah. I want to go. I really want to go. I've never been.
You will be in for a treat. You'll definitely feel like you're in the wizarding world. They played the John Williams theme. It just felt magical.
I'm going back in January. I'm super excited.
Oh, lucky.
All right, Ryan. We'll plan a trip for like March next year after the Batman comes out, of course.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll go during the off season. We'll be able to do everything. It'll be amazing.
Me and Nicole will hang out and we won't argue at all.
No.
Sure.
Matt, you're right too.
No, it's all good. But yeah, so of course, Nicole's Ravenclaw, as she never lets anyone forget.
No, I don't.
And then I believe
you kind of give it away by wearing a t-shirt.
I know.
I mean, I'm just wearing a standard Hogwarts short. Which one? No, shit, I already said I was
because you're a Slytherin. You're trying to hide your loyalty.
Exactly. You never know. I could show up in any house at any time. And Matt, I believe you said you're a Gryffindor.
There was moments where I took the test and it said I was a Hufflepuff, and then I took the BuzzFeed when it says that I'm Gryffindor.
Well, that's okay.
But here's the thing. But the beauty thing is, you can choose. The Sorting Hat takes choice into account.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, some people actually cross them together. There's like Griffin Puff and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is getting
a new thing. I am half Hufflepuff, half Ravenclaw. I just chose Ravenclaw because it's a nicer color.
After the Ravenclaw. Yeah. She takes over Remus Lupin more so than Cedric Diggory, of course.
Exactly.
But yeah, I guess let's just get into the breaking down the film, giving our thoughts about our rewatch. Do we still feel the same as we always have about this special film? Honestly, like when I was like on my rewatch, I swear I was like, wow, this is just really, really good and paced very well. And then I've noticed I was just like, why did I ever like hate this as a kid, but it's like, of course, when you're a kid, everything seems scary. So it's crazy. But I guess we'll start with Nicole. Give us your thoughts about like your rewatch. Do you still feel the same way? Is it still your number one Harry Potter movie?
I think to fully say that, I will need to rewatch Deathly Hallows Part 2 to like full on answer that. But I think it is. I really love this movie because I think that the emotional heart of it is really great. We get all of this sort of information about, we have the characters of Remus and Sirius introduced, and there's a bit of a mystery around who Sirius Black actually is. But we also have these lovely scenes of Remus telling Harry about his parents and about his friendship with both James and Lily, which I really love. And this is also, I think, maybe the first movie where Hermione and Harry's friendship is as front and center as Harry and Ron's friendship. And Hermione and Harry's friendship is like my favorite thing in the whole series, as someone who... Their friendship reminds me a lot of me and my best friend growing up, who I also met at the age of 11. And so that's really special to me for those moments. I think it's also really interesting. You sort of see for the first time here, Hermione really putting her life on the line for Harry, which is something that's going to continue like in every subsequent one, and doing it really purposefully, I think, for the first time. So I really love this movie. There's some things in it that crack me up that like, I know that it's not a great movie. Like the visual effects on Remus as a werewolf are laughably bad. Like I'm not exactly positive what they thought they were doing there. And I have the biggest question for the costume designer of this film. Why is everyone's tie so short? I don't know if anyone else noticed that. The ties are like so strangely done in this film. I have a lot of questions, but it's such a quotable movie. There's so many good lines and so many good scenes. I mean, it's the movie where Hermione punches Draco Malfoy, so I have to love it.
Finally.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that in theaters and people were just like, it is about damn time. Like,
yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest with you. Malfoy needs a beatdown. Yeah. He definitely needs, like someone needs to punch him in the face so hard because he's being a douche.
Yeah. I mean, it's Tom Felton, so it's like, like
it's crazy is that they're like really good friends.
Yeah.
Off camera. And
in real life.
And yet she was just like, yeah, let me suck him in the mouth.
Supposedly Emma Watson had a bit of a crush on Tom Felton around the time of filming this because
she's a little bit of a
Slytherin.
Well, he was like older than the rest of them by like a year and had a skateboard, so they all thought he was really cool.
That tracks for Beauty and the Beast down the road. If you know.
I like this dude. He's got a skateboard. He knows it all. He's seen and done it all. He's been everywhere.
He can get cigarettes before I can, like stuff like that.
He can start buying rated R video games before me. Therefore,
he can get us into a rated R movie.
There we go.
He can get a rent-a-car faster than I can. He can get off his parents' medical insurance before I can.
I was just about to say.
I don't think they're as concerned about that in the UK. But.
You don't know, Nicole.
Especially in the wizarding world. I mean,
what's Medicare? What's Medicare for them other than like a flick of a wrist? Oh, I don't have the flu anymore.
It's like, I'm very interested to see what the insurance is.
Isn't that like terrible though that they could probably just use magic and never have a sick day? Like just like you never probably.
I mean, magic isn't like all encompassing.
I mean,
there are things that you can't do.
I mean, come on, Nicole. They probably could.
I'm just saying. There are
Fred and George were able to create a bunch of Canadian snacks that makes them sick. That can take a sick day.
Yeah, I mean, like J.K. Rowling made up stuff on the fly. She could probably, with the flick of a wand, universal health care for the entire world.
Yeah, she's the creator. She's the author. She can make some stuff up.
She's been making stuff up ever since these movies came out that have been changing things. So
stop making
like
stuff
the
up.
potty thing, the whole bathroom.
Stop! I can't think about that. I can't think about that.
I read that. I was like, oh, J.K. I was like, okay, and I just kept scrolling through. I'm like, I didn't need to know that.
It tracks with the rest of the stuff she says lately. So
yeah, it was just very weird. I'm like, I love Pottermore, of course, expanding the world, and you get to learn more about Remus and whatnot.
Yeah, Pottermore, like more coming out of her mouth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
I haven't heard.
You got to be high in order to think some of that stuff up, I guess.
It was kind of like she was like, "Oh, is it?" Someone's like, "Is this true?" And she's like, yes.
Sure.
Yeah. She George Lucas'd herself. That's what she did. That's what she's become.
Oh,
she's George Lucas.
Yeah,
sure. I believe everybody on the planet. They, they had midichlorians. And,
faster, more intense. Check.
Yeah, Dumbledore is totally gay. I laid in my first draft when I wrote the book. I totally thought about that. So, yes,
you would be the perfect George Lucas.
Yeah.
If I did The Last Jedi. Oh wait, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that.
Oh man. So Ryan, did you get a chance to rewatch this, and has your opinions changed since your rewatch? Do you usually rewatch Harry Potter? Like, I know that was like 5 different questions at once, but
sure, I'll answer all of them sporadically.
And what is your credit score? No,
I mean, I watched Harry Potter not as much as I would want to, because my wife is not a big fan of Harry Potter. She thinks it's dumb, and but she also loves Lord of the Rings, so that's where she sort of sided in that whole debate. I think you can love two things, in this world. This is an argument we have. This is just insight in my marriage at this point. This is Oscar Isaac scenes of a marriage kind of stuff. Yeah, you know what, guys? I'm actually right over here is a couch. I'm gonna be right back. I'm just gonna go sit on it and yell out my feelings. But no, so I don't get to watch it nearly as much. But because Christian, you invited me on this podcast, I had to rewatch it, and it was the first time I actually rewatched it since the last time I talked with Nicole about it.
Oh, really?
On my show, Busting the Block, with Kevin Lee, we talked about Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
You have your own show?
Yeah. I've got a ton. I've got a ton of shows. Sometimes, on occasion. But no, I love this movie, and I've loved it since it came out, and I think it's mostly because I just love Alfonso Cuarón, and I love the fact that like this man made a movie because Guillermo del Toro told him to. And like you ever know when like your best friend says you should do something and you do it, and it works out? Like, that's the product of this movie, by the way. I'm just gonna point that out, like the power of friendship. And he took this franchise and steered it in a direction that it needed desperately to go to. And I love these characters. I love where they go. I love the introduction of Lupin, who is one of my favorite Harry Potter characters. The introduction of Sirius Black and Gary Oldman, which is a top 3 Gary Oldman character performance, throughout this film franchise. I love Emma Thompson. I love, of course, the returning cast, and I love also too this is sadly the introduction to Michael Gambon as Dumbledore, who, like, I love Richard Harris and he's sort of great, but it also is kind of important that, I know that, Richard Harris died and it's very sad, but it kind of makes sense that Michael Gambon becomes Dumbledore here because it's a more physical Dumbledore, and he's not this like, need a walking stick sort of, Dumbledore. He's like very hands-on from this movie on, and he Gambon delivers the true Dumbledore performance. And I think that it's great to show the maturity of this world, but also it's like the score in this one is more haunting. The cinematography, the edits, sort of from scene to scene. The Dementors are, I can understand it being haunting because they are. And it's just all around what you would want out of a blockbuster. And what's crazy about it is that, like, big time directors nowadays, I think they play it so safe when they get an existing property, and don't put their own spin on it. I think of like Taika Waititi putting his own spin on a Marvel movie, right? And that's why Thor Ragnarok stands out a lot. Or Ryan Coogler putting his mark on Black Panther. Great filmmakers are able to do that and break a mold. And I think what Columbus did in the first two was sort of generic. And this then says, okay, what can I do with this world? Well, magic is haunting. Growing up is haunting. Learning the truth is haunting. It's sad, and you have to wrestle with those emotions. I think Cuarón, along with this cast and everything about it, they just are clicking on all cylinders. It's the best Harry Potter movie. I've talked a lot. Hopefully I answered all the questions. If not, sue me.
I'm still waiting for that credit score. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. But no, you brought up some really great points, man. Like, just, as we said, this is a coming of age story, and it's so dreary. Like the entire, like the tone, the entire, the color mapping and whatnot, and some of the cinematography that happens, especially with Hermione, with the with her time traveling turntable, I guess you could call it. But sorry, I'm blanking on the name of the actual device itself. But just a lot of those scenes, it's like, wow, they really they took care of this movie, because a lot starts to just come out. And for Gary Oldman, not gonna lie, totally forgot he was in this movie. I was like, wow, that is him. And I knew it was him. I was like, I kind of forgot that was him. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that is him. But it's, the makeup and the wig and whatnot. It's like, oh yeah, it's Gary Oldman. It's like, oh yeah. But then you mentioning it, like, oh yeah, Gary Oldman was in that movie, wasn't he? So I only watched it like a few days ago, but some crazy, crazy stuff. So let's go over to Matt really quick. What were your thoughts about the rewatch so far? That, has your feelings changed?
No, it hasn't changed at all. This is definitely my favorite of the whole 8 movies. I mean, I just love that now we're getting into the more maturity and the more suspenseful and haunting than the first 2 films. We see Harry now being more ballsy than he was in the first 2. Like, now he's not putting up with their crap with the family that he's with and Malfoy and everyone around him. And he doesn't really have anyone to connect with. The only one is his friends, is Ron and Hermione. And I love that his relationship with him and Professor Lupin, and talking about his parents and about his past that he didn't know about. And I thought it was so special. Gary Oldman is just the GOAT. I mean, he's incredible any movie he's in. I mean, at the time when this movie came out, I didn't know anything about Gary Oldman at the time.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding. And the thing I really appreciate is that the filmmaker was able to let you in, like, make you feel like you're there in the film, especially in the train sequence when the Dementors were trying to look for Sirius Black, and when it gets dark and gets haunting and scary and very suspenseful. He does not miss once. One of my favorite scenes is the Buckbeak scene, when now he's flying with Buckbeak for the first time, and Harry just does that King of the World, like Titanic style. It was just beautiful and magical, and one of the best shots looking in cinema. And the Quidditch game, oh my God, it added more stakes. He's getting chased by Dementors in a thunder lightning storm. It was crazy. It was visually well stunning. And him performing the Patronus charm at the 3rd act finale, saving his past self and Sirius, was cinema.
Yeah, pure cinema, much like Dune Part 1. But we're not here to talk about
movies. Yeah, from that big screen.
Yeah, man. I mean, I wish I could see this movie on the big screen again, because it would be.
Oh, did you see it? Oh, I was going to say, did everyone see it on the big screen first?
I did originally, but I want to go back.
I've only seen it once when it came out in theaters, only once, but I want to go back and revisit it again.
Yeah. No, I remember my experience with it, and it was almost like, you're like, oh, you're going to go see a Harry Potter movie. And then you're like, oh my God, I think I just saw something like amazing.
And also the John Williams music. This was the last time we get to have John Williams in the franchise. I mean, he just knocked it out of the park. It was chills.
R.I.P. John Williams. Oh wait, I mean his tenure in Harry Potter.
Yeah. No, the score was very hauntingly beautiful. Like, I mean, I still listen to it on Spotify. I even have a vinyl record of it. So
I was thinking about getting vinyl.
Yeah, the movie's also like darkly funny too, like, which is great, because like you have to have that opening, the sequence with the end and her blowing up and everything. It's like, yes, and then as he's walking to the bus, she's in the background flying away.
Like, yeah, she's gonna be fine.
You know what I mean? Like,
as she's just roaming around the town.
Oh my
okay,
God,
but
it's
also
great.
There's that great scene where they're like, Remus is teaching them all how to get rid of a boggart, and Neville's like, we get Alan Rickman like in drag essentially. Like,
look, we stand a legend. All right, Hans Gruber in drag.
We
all right,
love that so much.
Which is great, like, too, because I think like everyone else's is like a snake, or then it's like Harry's is like a Dementor or whatever. But like it is clear, and as it should be, that Neville's is Professor Snape, and it's like, you know what, he's not wrong.
Yeah, fair.
He scares a lot of children.
I mean, he's terrifying at times in this, like when he catches Harry with the map, and but then like there's still like the pictures. Well, you shut that light off. You know what I mean? Like,
are you deaf? Put that light out.
You know, and I just love it. Like,
I mean, you just loved his great small moments, even if it doesn't impact the movie. You still enjoyed it and laughed.
He always has a presence in the movies too. Like when he takes over for Lupin in this, and then turn to page 394. You know what I mean? Or then even in Goblet of Fire, where they're in, I guess, a study hall and they're talking or whatever, and he just like slams their faces pretty much into like
that textbook on their heads.
Alan Rickman, just the great Alan Rickman.
God rest his soul.
But then also too, this movie has one of my favorite scenes in Harry Potter, period, and that is. And I know we're sort of jumping the gun on it, but like the confrontation between Lupin and Remus and Wormtail, right?
Yeah, Wormtail.
And then of course Snape comes into the fold, and it's all like what Nicole talked about. It's all the history of these characters, and you don't have to sort of have a Venn diagram, but it's like all this drama of before Voldemort was gone, their time in school, everything just coming back. And it is such a casual arguments. And I love when Snape goes, look at you two bickering like an old married couple. And why don't you run back to your chemistry set? And it's like if it was like not PG or whatever, like it would be like even worse than that. But it's the familiarity of that, but of these characters already, and we met them in this movie, and the history that bleeds into it, and Harry and Ron and Hermione are learning all this, but they're seeing that this is all when the contextuality of this series, that Snape is defending Harry and Ron and Hermione not just as students, but he's continually defending them because of these people used to be the friends of his parents, the woman that he loved. And there's all this baggage that comes from those decisions that are not made by him. They're made by Dumbledore. And he is desperately trying to find out a way to throw Lupin under the bus. Right. And basically say like, see, he's letting in his old friend. I told Dumbledore that you were trying to sneak an old friend into the castle, but he wouldn't listen to me. The old man's kooky. He wouldn't listen.
And there is the element that he thinks that Sirius Black is the reason that Lily Potter was killed. And that's the woman that he was in love with. Like, so of course,
and you see the confrontation between him and Sirius. Like, he's really furious that he was the one that betrayed his parents.
When he sticks his wand right into his neck and goes, why shouldn't I? Why deny the Dementors? You know what I mean? Either of the joy of killing you. You know what I mean? And the books had not been written yet before, the final book had not been written. So this has not come out, but yet it's there. And this is like Shakespearean sort of acting right here at its finest. And you have these 3 or even 4 when you count Timothy Spall's character in here, and they're just all at the A level. And then of course there's our main characters who are doing a fantastic job. And this is a movie where you finally get to see that the decisions that the casting directors made years before paid off immensely, especially for Daniel Radcliffe, who has to go to an emotional place that he's never truly gone to before. This is one he's gone through sorrow and he's gone through sadness, but he's never gone through that with anger and mixed pain into it. When he's and pain, and grief and all of it, and an act of or a hinge of revenge thrown in there too.
This is sort of the first movie, I think, where Harry starts to really have an idea of what exactly he has lost. because he does start finding out more actual stuff about both his mother and his father from Remus. And I think there's also that hint of, you know, for him knowing that Remus was friends with them, having an idea of what his life would have been like had he been raised by his parents with Remus as like an uncle figure. And I think that that sort of flows into the fact that, like you said, like we've seen him have this like sadness before, but this is the first time where it really crosses over into like a more mature grief. And he's dealing with the Dementors and, you know, sort of these feelings about, well, you know, he asks, why am I more affected by these than other people? And Remus tells him, you know, because you have experienced worse things than your classmates have. And sort of the unfairness of that, I think he's sort of reckoning with for the first time. And the thing that really breaks my heart is, you know, whenever Sirius asks him if he would like to come and live with him. And I think it's sort of this reminder that Harry is living when he's not at Hogwarts in an abusive household. And how, you know, just how much this boy actually has gone through and is going through, and his joy at the thought of getting out of that, I think is really heartbreaking whenever then it doesn't work out.
Yeah. That is very true. It's so, you really started to see, like, it's, you know, since the beginning, but it's kind of like Harry starts to realize how bad of a hand he's been dealt. Like we know in the, you know, in the first two, but it's really like, oh, you know, these were supposed to be, you know, like these were my dad's friends. And, you know, between, you know, him trying to quote unquote, not look for Sirius because, you know, he's always lurking about. And then you're learning about the animagus and whatnot, even during the beginning of the film, after he blows up his aunt, it's like Harry's alone until, you know, the night bus comes. So he kind of has to find his way. You know, he leaves the Dursleys, he's kind of fed up with everything, and then he just storms out, and then he kind of realizes like he doesn't have anyone with him, even though, you know, throughout the movie, you know, he does start to, you know, unfold a little bit here and there. Like Remus is probably more like just like Sirius until Sirius gets introduced or he finds out the truth. It really was like the only actual connection to his father, because I'm assuming that, like, obviously like Hagrid and or Professor Dumbledore knew his parents, but it's like, hey, you know, here's Remus Lupin, like one of your dad's best friends. And I think this is really all about, I mean, it's much as a Remus Lupin story as it is Harry, especially I think for this film, just because, you know, we see his trials and tribulations. We see, you know, what he has to deal with on a monthly basis.
And I think we start to see that the Wizarding World does have problems, because I think up until this point, you know, there's some like negligence here and there. And we get that, like, oh, there is some like, you know, there is this whole thing around blood purity, but this is, I think, where we really start to see that, like, the Wizarding World has as many problems as the Muggle world does, in the way that Remus is treated for being a werewolf. And I think that, like, that's a really interesting element to it, is that, like, as the films go on, our, like, rosy view of the Wizarding World sort of gets chipped away at again and again and again. And I think this is, like, a major time where we find out not only, you know, is Remus treated this way for being a werewolf, but also, I mean, it makes me so mad to watch this movie, because I'm like, in a Wizarding World where you have a serum that makes people tell the truth, how does someone get falsely imprisoned?
Bingo.
And this, I think, it also goes, I think it's perfect that this is the first movie that we have with the new Dumbledore, in that I think that, you know, Richard Harris is a much more like jovial Santa Claus-y Dumbledore. And then,
he's a let everything slide sort of Dumbledore.
And then Michael Gambon is a man that I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't know that I think that this is a good man. I think this is a genius who is pulling all these strings for things to work to his own benefit. And I think that, you know, whenever you think about sort of that with Sirius and how he ended up in prison for 12 years for a crime that he didn't commit, I think that really starts to become more clear, and it's sort of where things start unraveling.
Yeah. It shows the hypocrisy of everything around it, including the Wizarding World. I mean, we see that a lot in Order of the Phoenix, and the denial of the existence of Voldemort. But really here, it's also, you see Dumbledore, you giving them this tool, Harry and Hermione, to say that maybe an innocent man can be freed. And really in a lot of ways that shows that as powerful of a wizard and influential of a wizard that Dumbledore is, even he is not able to get above the powers that be of the wizarding world. He still, is helpless in this situation and to this cause. And it's, Michael Gambon is really, really good in here. And then, there are those like the small moments. I mean, Order of the Phoenix is pinnacle of like Harry and Sirius's relationship, but there's the moment when they're carrying him out and, they're talking about like, his dog bites or whatever, or the fleas, the murder, and stuff like that too. But it's why, like, it's so devastating later on down the road about Sirius is that like there are these moments by the end of the film where it's like Harry actually has a proper parent in this world. And like he sort of sees, we sort of see later on down the road that like Dumbledore sort of takes over that reign, but really, in the Weasleys do their best, but they have their children, I mean, Hermione's parents are muggles, so they're very non-existent. And this is his parents, and it's great to see that.
And I think we see too that not only in both Remus and Sirius do we sort of have these parental figures, and I also think, presumably these are the people that James and Lily wanted him left to if something happened to him. Sirius is his godfather. He's the person he was meant to grow up with should, something have happened to the Potters. But I also think it's really heartbreaking that we see that here are also two people, Remus and Sirius, who lost their best friends, lost their sort of found family, because, Sirius considered James his brother. He was living with the Potters by the time they were at the end of their school years. And they knew for these 12 years that this kid was out there in the world and they couldn't do anything for him and they couldn't be with him and they couldn't do what their best friends wanted them to do for him. So I think, and also, thinking about the fact that, there is the whole thing too of like, did Remus think that Sirius had actually done it? At what point does he figure out his innocence? There's stuff in the books about the fact that I think, Sirius, they were all sort of wondering if Remus was actually going over to the dark side at one point.
Right.
So there is, the pain that these two adults have lived with for the past 12 years. And, Sirius says, like, I did my waiting 12 years in Azkaban. Yes. That these 12 years he's been waiting to be able to avenge what happened to the people that he was closest to in the world and figure out where Harry is.
Yeah. And he's fueled by revenge and rage, obviously, for being stuck in prison. But, Lupin's sort of just telling him flat out, like, no, we have Peter here. We are going to turn him in. And they, obviously that doesn't get to work out nearly as to the benefit, or even Snape to see that, because they knock him out before, or Harry knocks him out before that is revealed. And it's sort of also to Harry's first acts of real defiance and not caring about the consequences down the road. And what's great about it too is like Alan Rickman only gets mad at him, but it's not like really much you can do. It's also like the epitome of I'm Harry Potter. If I want to fucking know an answer, I'm going to know an answer. Yeah. And then like later on, it's like, he goes, come here, Potter. And then we realize, oh, snap, Lupin's changed. Okay. And I got to protect you kids. Like,
it's like everything that in that moment, he's like, Potter. It was like,
but like everything, get it. But everything leading up to it, I mean, like the stuff about the Patronus and learning about that and its relationship into this franchise. I mean, like a Patronus is more than just like a safety. It is a safety net. I mean, but it's also, it's much more personal. It's more emotional. And I mean, we learn later on down the road how deeply personal that can be. But there is like this attachment to it, in this film. And I think the way that it's presented here also too, in the visual effects with it, I mean, it's really well done.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and kind of how, when I was thinking about it in the books, like the way the Dementors and the way that this sequence as well has happened, it's like, I understand people that because this is a controversial sort of take, because people love this book, but they hate this movie. But I think that there are enough differences, but enough similarities too, where, you know, I was like, well, yeah, I can kind of only see like this is the way to make this movie, rather than, you know, maybe making it more of like the previous ones. We have to take this step, movies wise,
eventually.
Sort of speaking to the differences in the book and the movie, there's a few, and a few of them do bother me. Like, there's a lot more Quidditch in the book. That's fine. That's got to go. I do think it is sad that like
this series introduced that in the first film and said, you know what? Let's not.
I do think it is anymore. A little bit sad, because in the book you do get the character of Cho Chang introduced first as another Quidditch player and like a Quidditch rival for Harry. And so later, whenever he like develops feelings for her, she's already sort of an established presence and not just there to be a love interest. So that's a little sad. But I think that the two changes that like really do bother me is, one, we miss a lot of Marauder's backstory in the movie. And some of that I do wish we had gotten, because I think that there are things later on in the movies that like don't make as much sense if you've not read the books, or haven't like read up on the full backstory there. But also in the book, I believe Harry, like his memory that he uses to conjure the Patronus for the first time is when he found out that he was a wizard and knew that he was going to get to leave the Dursleys. And I think that, like, going back to what I was saying earlier about the fact that Harry Potter is a child from an abusive household, and sort of the meaning of that being the happiest thing that's ever happened to him is getting out of that household, versus I feel like the thing that they substitute for it in the movie is like kind of weird. It's like this,
it's like just him talking to his parents.
He's like, I'm thinking maybe I have a memory of my parents. I don't even know if it's really real. Which I'm like, okay. And then the other thing, I think the other big change is the whole thing with the firebolt and him getting sent the broom, which obviously it makes sense to sort of cut that. I'm intrigued by the fact that they left it in at all. But I do, you know, that is one of the things in the book that we see, that like Hermione puts Harry's best interest above what he even does a lot of the time. Like, she's thinking 3 steps ahead, and it's like, you just got a mysterious package. Like, maybe we shouldn't trust that, considering who you are and what's going on in the world. And Harry is in many ways like still a dumb boy, and it's like, nice, a broomstick.
Slice. Oh man, that actually is a really good point. Yeah, with Cho Chang, I totally forgot about that. Thank you for bringing that up, because it's been a while since I've read the books. But yeah, because she's in Order of the Phoenix, but yeah, like she's used more as a love interest.
We like, because
she's kind of just there
in the book. She's introduced in this one as like a Quidditch player, and then we see her as like as Cedric Diggory's love interest, and then finally we see her as Harry's love interest, whereas in the movies we only ever see her in this like love interest role. And obviously as a Ravenclaw, I'd like more Ravenclaw representation.
I guess speaking of Ravenclaw representation, explain to us why is Remus Lupin your favorite? I mean,
so the thing about Remus is that I have talked to other Ravenclaws, and because we have so few Ravenclaws, we've all kind of decided that like Remus is actually a Ravenclaw. He's a Gryffindor, but like he doesn't show most of those traits. Like, kind of like,
he does. Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, when he pulls out that record player, I'm like, there he is, my Ravenclaw man. No, but I think it is a funny thing that like a lot of other Ravenclaws I've talked to were like, oh yeah, our comfort character, that's Remus Lupin. Because he is sort of, he also, I think, is a really interesting character in that whenever you do get the stuff about the Marauders, he functions in a very similar role in some ways to Hermione, in that he is like sort of the smart one of the trio. He's less brash than the others. He's not as willing to bully people as perhaps Sirius and James are, but also he's the one who's dealing with this sort of affliction. For him, it's being a werewolf, but for Hermione, it's the fact that she has to deal with the discrimination that she's facing because of being Muggle-born. And so I think that there's some really interesting parallels there between those two characters. that are really fun. And I think that those are two characters that a lot of Ravenclaws want to like claim as their own, because we have so few Ravenclaws, especially in the movie.
Yeah, that is true. Because I mean, growing up, it's always been the big question, you know, like, should have Hermione been in Ravenclaw instead of Gryffindor? And there's always the, you know, what if Harry was in Slytherin?
Yep.
I think he would make a kick-ass Slytherin.
I agree.
To be honest, like,
I agree.
Like he would have done very well, but I wonder how much of his story would have changed if he was in Slytherin versus 2. But yeah, it's always been the big question, and
it's too much of a good person to be in Slytherin, because those are mean people.
No.
They're just mean people.
Put them in the
mean.
dungeon, I say. Get in that dungeon, Christian.
Professor.
Yeah, that was always what threw me off. I know we're not doing the last film, but like in the last film, they're like, put the whole house in the dungeon. I was that guy in the background. I'd be like, I don't agree with these people. What the hell's going on?
Okay, no, but the other thing too is when in the first one, when they're like,
not a pseudo-Nazi around.
In the first one, when they're like, troll in the dungeons. Everyone return to your dormitories. They literally said, there's a troll down there. Slytherins, it's fine. Just go.
Yeah, they're going to be fine. Just put them in the dungeon.
Who's really getting discriminated around here? That's what we're saying. You know?
Thank you. No. Yeah. Justice for the Slytherins out there.
Well, not too much. Not too much. You still have like, you know.
And Harry does not want to be in Slytherin because he doesn't want to end up dealing with Malfoy and a bunch of jerks around. Because right now, Gryffindor and Slytherin, they're just in a rivalry.
Yeah, and then like Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff are like, you know, we live in this school too, you know.
You're like, I am just trying to do my schoolwork.
Yeah, fuck.
I got no beef with you. I got no beef.
Well, we barely see the Hufflepuffs, at least in. I mean, obviously, you know, it's all about the Gryffindors, but they should make a nice little sitcom about that. All about the Gryffindors. There you go.
It's all about them.
But we see the Hufflepuffs for like a hot second, because of course, you know, when Harry's going through,
we see them in like the wide shots of the Grand Hall, and they're just like eating there, and they're like, anybody ever going to talk to us this year? I guess not.
Are we ever going to get the camera
I'm just studying. I'm just eating, bro.
Oh wait, we going to be at least part of maybe one tracking shot or something? Yeah. Like anything at all? Like no?
Ever think we're getting our own close up?
God, could you imagine like you had as an actor on a resume, I was a Ravenclaw or a Hufflepuff extra on the Harry Potter movie. Oh, so you definitely did not have a speaking line. That's what you're saying.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
I was in a hallway scene.
I'm saying down with the Gryffindors. Down with the Gryffindors.
Yeah. I mean, like,
honestly,
you know, it's both of them. Yeah. Sorry, Matt.
I'll give you a
I don't
even know what house I'm a part of, but I'll go with it and just say like that's messed up, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrible.
Also,
you know what? That's bad stories.
Listen, people are like, oh, all the evil people are in Slytherin. Like Gryffindor is all good people. Percy Weasley and Peter Pettigrew are both Gryffindors. I'm just saying, I think they're some of the slimiest people in the whole thing. So
honestly,
well, yeah. And fun fact, James Potter was a bully to Snape. He was a jerk.
Also, would not leave Lily Evans alone, which I don't
not
love.
at all. Well, even in this, it's, I mean, you can't even see it with, I mean, I know we're getting a little ahead here, but still about Prisoner of Azkaban for sure. But, well, you see, Ron's like sulking in Goblet of Fire, and he's just a jerk the entire time.
Ron is consistently a jerk to Hermione the entire series.
Well, that's a flirtation 101. That's what happens when he's into her.
I love Ron. Ron is my favorite character, like hands down. I don't know what I've always gravitated towards them because I'm like, if I was in, not in Gryffindor, if I just went to Hogwarts, I would be Ron. Like I literally would be. He's not the brightest person, but he knows how to, enjoy himself, have a good life, whatnot.
I probably would be Harry. I know I'm a little biased, but I love the character so much and I connected with him. I mean, I'm like the kind of person who is learning everything at once because he never grew up with the wizarding family and he was totally unprepared. And I kind of felt the same way about the character.
Yeah, that is very true. It's, with Prisoner of Azkaban, it really just is like, I mean, everything that happens between even the Buckbeat scene with, with oh my gosh, with Draco, of course, we finally get Hagrid in this teacher-esque role. He's not just something bad's happened. Let's go find Hagrid, like kind of thing.
Let's give him a purpose.
it's like Ron has like slugs coming out of his mouth. Let's not go.
Well, let's not take him to the hospital, Wayne. Let's just take him to Hagrid's. He'll know what to do so that we can make this emotional scene happen.
Yeah, but I really, I was always waiting for Hagrid to kind of not just be, the groundskeeper, but he finally becomes a teacher, and
for better or for worse, because
he was doing a good job until Malfoy's just hold on,
until that bleach box ruined it.
To be fair, though, he's like, I've brought this really dangerous creature. If you don't do this exactly right, you are going to get injured. Now, 13-year-olds, let's go.
Yeah,
of course you would say that, Nicole freaking Raven.
But McGonagall took them into the dark forest with Hagrid in that dangerous forest that were forbidden for students to go to.
Yeah. Remus is one of the only responsible teachers who ever teaches at Hogwarts.
Oh, very true.
Yeah, and it's a bummer that he was no longer professor. Which is BS.
There's a reason why Snape is long tenured. I'm just going to say he's probably pretty fucking good at his job.
He's one of the better.
He's able to go from class to class.
Yeah,
clearly he knows
his stuff.
He's like, I'm not just doing my job, I'm doing everybody's. All right.
Every time he shows up in front of the students right behind him, like, hello, Potter, and he just like, ooh.
He's just all about business,
scaring the hell out of the kids.
Speaking of teachers, I also have to mention Emma Thompson in this movie as Professor Trelawney. Is so fun. Yeah. It's such a fun, kooky performance, and I also think in many ways
she gives Hermione her own too.
It's I feel like this performance is such a predecessor to her as Nanny McPhee in some ways. It's the same level of weird,
right?
Yeah, she's like Nanny McShade in this movie. She's throwing it left and right. You know what I mean?
And listen,
and who would have thought that Emma Watson needed shade thrown at her
she got
this
pissed.
Early in a franchise.
I get
she
it though.
Smacks that fortune ball.
I get it because
and walk out of the classroom.
At that age, anything that didn't come naturally to me, I had no interest in. That's why I don't play sports.
You?
So yeah, I get it though. I get that that's very in her character, and it's kind of fun to see a teacher be like, okay.
But she also threw her profession under the bus and so it also is well, I'm just pointing out your lonely, sad life if you continue down this path of just stuffing your face in a book, and I love that though, when because in the book you see Hermione's schedule and you're like, how are they going to do that in the movie? And I actually think they handle that really well because of not only because of when she just pops in, but the humor that Rupert Grint has to present. I'm like, where'd she come from? Was she here before? Where did she come from?
She's always I've always been here, Ron. It's the way that she puts him down every time. It really does it for me.
Yeah, when you're watching the film and you see Hermione just appear out of thin air, where the hell she come from? But then when you get to the third act about the time travel, now it makes more sense. Now
she's been doing the time warp this whole time.
I also have to say
that's how she's been getting to every classes.
I love the way that they handled time travel in this. I think that it's
that was great.
It's so fun. It makes logical sense. Everything checks out with how time travel works in the wizarding world. And I think that having those shots where you are able to see past them, I guess, and present them when they're going back to fix things is so fun. And the way that they let that unfold in a way that we're sort of learning with them how this works, I think is really clever. And I do think this is actually my favorite use of time travel in any movie.
Yeah, because generally when Hollywood, they usually just use time travelers that are get out of jail free card. But in the context of the story, it made more sense. It worked.
Yeah, it's always muddled when it comes to time travel and everything. And even when I went to go see Avengers Endgame, people are like, well, this doesn't make sense. But I'm like, okay, you believe that there is a man who got bit by a spider and now has superpowers. That you believe.
I'm just saying your logic needs to work in world. If your logic doesn't work in world, we've got a problem.
I mean, this is that's different. Don't go down that rabbit hole, Christian, because it doesn't make sense.
We don't have time.
We don't have time for that.
I mean, I like the movie, but yeah, it's not my favorite use of time travel.
No, that movie's just we're gonna do time travel. Wait, we're gonna have questions about it? No, it's not important. We just want to. This is more intricate, Nicole's mentioning. This is a dance. This is you have to get this right because it's so important to the actual plot of this. It is important for the future of this franchise too, because of what they are. This is also a mission. Like it's very time sensitive. And then there's like Harry's like aggression, like, or anger in there too, because he's like, that's Pettigrew right there. I could kill him, and it's gonna be all over. But then the restraint. Yeah.
It has to happen the way that it does because it's already happened, and the ways in which they build that in, even visually, I think is really smart because it shows that like they can't go away from what they need to do because they've already done it.
Right.
Yeah, it's going in like it's a cycle. It's just a loop, and I love the part when they just don't constantly keep re-showing the same scene over and over again because you're just seeing the same scene, but from Hermione and Harry's point of view, and I thought it was worked perfectly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially when they're trying to free Buckbeak. It was smart. Just the camera work of you assume that Buckbeak died because, but you don't see the body, quote unquote, or if you
didn't see the body died, then they're not dead. If you don't see them dead,
yeah. So
also too, like what's great about that is like, so the scene, of course, we all know it's not Buckbeak dying. It's them saying, but it always gets me every time. It's like the mind of the guy that's going to behead Buckbeak. It's like, listen, guys, I sharpened this thing for a while. I got to chop something fucking
I'm like,
down.
do you not get paid now? Do you not get paid because you didn't chop something?
I know. Did you guys need pumpkin for tonight? Were you guys making any pumpkin bread or anything? Maybe like
I'm gonna just chop this pumpkin.
I'm just gonna chop
something.
Pumpkin guts count. It was on the brochure. Like it was
in the job description.
Yeah, it's in the fine. Subsect paragraph 2,
memo.
article 3. It says if bird not there, then pumpkin must be destroyed for payment.
That was
if a living goes missing, then I'm gonna have to chop something else.
What do you think when he goes home to his wife? She'll be like, "Did you kill that bird today?" No, I didn't. I actually another pumpkin. Are you kidding me?
Just kill that bloody chicken.
Yeah,
no.
You couldn't get like a rat or a bird or something. You just had to shoot, and you had to get another pumpkin, didn't you?
You couldn't kill the bloody bird.
Yeah, he's sitting on the couch tonight. That's what's happening. It's, poor guy.
I just really find it so funny when like we said, it's the more the dark comedy in this, but I think like the number one laugh out moment besides Malfoy being punched in the face was during when he's meeting Buckbeak, and then he gets his arm scratched in the movie. And then afterwards, he's like, "Oh, it hurts so bad." And like,
was kidding me.
And he's like,
rub some dirt on it, Malfoy. You'll be fine.
Yeah, like he's milking it like in the Great Hall, and
like what a pansy.
Yeah, and he's Ron's like He's laying it on thick, whatever, and it's like, of course, it's Malfoy, but I believe
I got a boo boo.
Yeah, but I believe when Brendan came on, we were talking about Chamber of Secrets, much like when Malfoy was also in the hospital wing the same time as Harry, with his super, boneless arm.
When all of his bones were all gone.
Yeah. And, there's like 2 or 3 people, like kind of like,
when he was Mr. Fantastic.
Yes.
Let me know when he gets superpowers.
Yeah. So you see like 3 people by Draco in Chamber of Secrets, and then there's like the whole House of Gryffindor and like the half of the House of Raven. Well, there are no Ravenclaws there because they didn't exist up until this point.
And it's so funny. It's so funny that the nurse was just talking crap to Malfoy. He's like, "Oh, stop it! Oh, stop your whining!" Yeah, every time he does his moan, like, I couldn't stop laughing. I can't take it seriously. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it was weird because it's like with this time around, in Prisoner of Azkaban, Malfoy kind of like exit on. And he has all these people. Oh, like my arm hurts so bad. Like one more second, I could have lost my arm, and my father's furious and. Of course, we get all of that, but it really just sucks. Because I was really rooting for Hagrid because Harry followed directions.
To be fair, though, like if I had a child at Hogwarts, I would be a little concerned about what's going on. Like, this is the one place where I'm like, Lucius Malfoy, you are in the right. I too would be a concerned
in reality, if it was more realistic, you don't see the adults put these kids in danger. Like, what are you doing?
Like, especially when you think about what's happened like the last 2 movies as well, I'm like, I'm actually with Lucius Malfoy on this one thing.
It's like, I agree. This one time, I agree.
Yeah.
Even though that Buckbeak is a dangerous creature, but he's still friendly once you actually bond with him. And I always wanted a Buckbeak. I want that so much.
Yeah, definitely. It's very weird, but you do put up some really good points here, Nicole. It's just, I don't know.
Listen, Lucius Malfoy being right. It's the whole, like, the worst person you know has made a good point.
Yeah, he's so right that he wants that thing.
It's like your ears finally perk up and you're like, did you just say something intelligent?
Yeah, I'm like, all right, fair enough, dude. Like, this thing did, injure your kid. Like,
well, that's Malfoy's fault. He shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have come up and tried to provoke him.
13.
True, but he should have common sense.
They're wizards, not invincible.
You clearly don't know much about 13-year-olds.
Yeah, I wonder. It's just like, did Hagrid just say, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do for my itinerary"? No one's like fact checking or like making sure that
seems to be how curriculum works at Hogwarts.
Yeah, it's like, what is your curriculum, Mr. Hagrid? I'm just gonna blah blah blah. It's
gonna mess around and hopefully no one gets killed.
So you just go to the woods.
Don't worry, they're gonna be all fine. I'm not gonna put them in danger.
Yeah.
So it's I would imagine them giving some kind of itinerary to like the headmaster, so he knows what's going on. But I guess Hagrid's always like flying rogue for like doing his own thing.
He's a man child that needs to be monitored,
and somehow he's always in trouble or something. But it's like they left him off the hook. He goes to Azkaban, he comes back, and
he gave away top secrets to the kids in the first one. I should have told you that.
He's got like dragons at one point. Like he has a real thing for like animals he should not have.
He has He has a big ass 3-headed dogs that can murder
Fluffy,
you.
And then there was Spider and
the spider.
Norbert or whatever it is at one point.
I think it was like Aragorn.
Eddie Murphy.
No, Norbert's the dragon egg that he has. I think at one point, right?
Oh yeah, Norbert the dragon.
Yeah. I think Aragog was the
spider.
Yeah, Aragog was the spider.
Oh, Aragorn, that's Lord of the Rings. Okay.
We're crossing universes here. It's all
crossover,
crossing the streams. All right.
It's the multiverse.
That's what they should start. Lord of the Rings and Wizarding World crossover multiverse.
That would be.
That would break
I just give you your money's worth.
There you go. Put it in Dune, and you can send it all. Just wrap all the Warner Brothers properties together.
It's a Serververse like they did from Space Jam too.
Batman versus Harry Potter.
I wonder who would actually win that fight. It's probably going to be Harry Potter, but Batman does always come prepared. So
yeah, he's overly prepared.
Probably just show him a picture. Well, both of them have terrible backstories about their families.
He's like, hey, I lost my parents too.
Maybe if Batman just rolled up with a gun or something.
Your dad's dead. Then your parents died too.
Sneaky. Yeah. All he's got to do is like sneak attack him, snap the neck. It's done. No more chosen one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, technically there are two. There's theories of their. Yeah, there's always that. But,
yeah.
He doesn't have spider senses, all right, guys. It's just for Voldemort, not for Batman. All right. It's almost like by the end of this series, it gets surgically removed, by killing Voldemort. It's like a mole on his head, It's, and it never stung again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I forgot. Yeah, that's right. It gets crazy, but
yeah, exactly.
For Prisoner of Azkaban, I know we've been talking here for a while. Just want to get your guys' final thoughts about the film. And you good?
Yeah, is there anything I've not said?
That is very true.
Say it again, Nicole, from the beginning. So, The Prisoner of Azkaban, directed by Alfonso Cuarón, and it stars. No, I'm just kidding.
But to be fair, yeah, she's definitely
scene 1, act 1.
I'm gonna actually read you the book now.
I'm gonna read you the screen.
This becomes like an audiobook for Nicole. Like we play this to her, and then she goes to sleep.
She does all the different voices.
She's so talented.
What's your phenomenal? I didn't do
Hermione.
it on purpose.
What do you for? I didn't do it on purpose.
What's your phenomenal for? Come on, then. Not wait for the grass to grow.
The Leaky Cauldron is in London.
Leaky Golden, and that's in London.
You gotta love the night bus. The night bus was pretty dope.
Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most laugh out loud funny moments in this.
Yeah, with the physical comedy.
And I think like it's some of the most fun visual effects in the movie too, other than Buckbeak. Like the visual effects on Buckbeak are actually like really nice, I think.
Yeah, I mean it definitely. I mean, besides werewolf, of course.
Honestly, I did not mind the werewolf. I thought it worked for me.
I hated the werewolf when I was a kid.
There's also a moment where we see Peter Pettigrew transition back to the rat, and I hate the effects on that so much.
Like,
it's so bad.
Harry, kill him already. He's getting in the way.
How hard is it to hit a rat with a wand? Like, I'm very confused because they were struggling there for a minute.
I'm telling you, all they needed was a gun.
Get a mousetrap.
Give us some muggle magic right now.
That's all you need. Just give him a mousetrap and he'll fall for it.
Maybe. Yeah. Almost like, dude, I'm like, out of nowhere, he scabbers and just starts booking it like Sonic the Hedgehog across the friggin'.
The best thing about part of the movie is when Harry was wandering around in the corridors in the dark, and he's looking at the Marauders map, and he sees Peter Pettigrew that he thought he was dead, and apparently he's alive, and he wants to go face to face with them, and it moves past him because he didn't know that he was a rat at the time, and you start to hear the sound effects of the rat crawling, like you start to notice it on the second viewing.
I do have some questions though around. I love the Marauders map. I think it's so fun, and I love the credits that are like based around it. But I just do have some questions about the fact that Peter Pettigrew does show up on it, because like all these years that Fred and George have had it,
and they didn't realize.
And like
they never noticed who's this Peter guy.
They never noticed there's another guy like very close to Ron at most times.
He doesn't have time to change back and go to sleep.
I just have questions.
Imagine him waking up and then transforming back into human next to Ron. Just imagine that shit.
Yeah, you can totally tell.
Hey,
like,
what up?
Brothers would totally make fun of like,
That's
there's a guy in your bed.
They would not ignore that.
Come on, we all know. Like I don't have any siblings. I don't have any siblings, but I damn well know that would have been like a.
I have two brothers. They probably would have made fun of me if that ever happened to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, hey, you had a dude in your bed.
Yeah,
like
that's kind of weird.
He's on top of you. That's weird.
Listen, maybe they're just really good brothers. So like clearly he's not ready to tell us yet. We're gonna wait and let him come out.
Dude, he should have called the cops. He should have called the cops.
Yeah, you know what? Good for them for not being.
Yeah, they didn't want to out him, and I respect that.
Dude, they always make fun of him.
Ron and Peter were like inseparable. It's crazy. They're just always hanging out.
Yeah, he's in his pocket. You know what I'm saying?
I should have started this conversation.
The Quidditch game.
Who's the real prisoner of Azkaban? Right? You know, more like the prisoner of Ron's pants. You know.
He could have gone through inside his pants just for the joke.
He owes Crookshanks an apology.
We'll never know what's actually inside the Chamber of Secrets.
I think we gotta wrap up. We've lost the plot.
I can keep going.
We can keep going all night.
Yeah.
Just like Ron and Peter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, night.
Get on it, Nicole. Woo!
It is probably the biggest like plot. Like,
what you can tell by that map is they are up to no good. You know what I'm saying?
That's just like I'm never having Nicole on a podcast again. Like,
he's not going to have me back on.
He's like, Goblet of Fire. No, you guys
are going through a Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
Oh, Sorcerer's Stone.
Sorcerer's Bone. More like. Anyway. Sorry, we're going to cut this whole thing out. This is a great conversation, and you guys fed into my episode. Look, but all honesty,
this is all staying in. This is good content.
Who wouldn't want to keep this going? No, I will reiterate this and say that this is the best directed Harry Potter film in my estimation. Look, I
Same.
know that Mr. Yates sort of just like took over the franchise and said nobody else but me. But I I think that Cuarón sort of lays the template for even him down the road. And I just, you know, that guy, I don't know if you guys know this about Alfonso Cuarón, but he's a pretty good director. You know, maybe one of the best ones. We'll never know.
Never heard of him.
But I admire also the movies. There are moments where there is all this heightened tension, but there are moments of true quiet and beauty. I think of, you know, the scene on the bridge between Lupin and Harry that I think is absolutely just heartbreaking. I think of like the way that Cuarón portrays the passage of time with the tree, which is throughout the film, which then leads to it being a set piece at the end. It's super, you know, much of a payoff. You know, I think that, like Nicole said, Emma Thompson's fantastic in this. It's a, you know, I just wish that she had more to do throughout the series, because when she's in it, she's Emma Thompson. She's one of the best, you know, actresses, you know, that we have still working and alive. And, you know, I just, man, this movie just gets me every time. And I love it. And it has that sense of wonder and maturity that you want to see this. And I think that that's, you know, this movie came after Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings had sort of ended. And so we were all, if you hadn't read the books, if you were sort of film fans like my parents and friends, you didn't know where this was going to go. And it matured perfectly right at the time when we needed something to be more mature in a franchise. And I appreciate that immensely. You know, still great costumes, production design, the editing's out of control, the cinematography.
Editing was great.
Yeah. That and like Matt said, the night bus sequence is hysterical. It's so good. And shout out to the great Julie Christie for being in one damn scene and owning it. Just owning it. And she's great. So yeah, everyone's firing all cylinders here. And what's great about it is this doesn't really feature Voldemort.
Mm-hmm.
It's talking about him and everything, but this is the one-off in the entire series where he is not the central focus. Mm-hmm. And I just love that about this movie so much, because it's just like, okay, we can put that on pause for a little bit and we can talk about this and build this world out and these characters and this history and why, you know, and what happened during the war and all these different things that happened, and why we're so fractured, why everything is so fractured when literally in the next film, death is on the doorstep. So, yeah. And it's also one of the last films till the last two films where you feel like you got the complete novel, rather than we're frustratingly sitting here going with 4, 5, and 6 going, well, they took everything out. And so, yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. And excuse me. We'll pass over to Matt for final thoughts. Then we'll go to Nicole. Then we'll close out.
Yeah, overall, this is definitely my favorite out of the 8 movies. I mean, one thing I really appreciate about like the certain Harry Potter movies, that not every film needs to be a big spectacle, action heavy movies like franchises that we now know of these days with Star Wars and Marvel and DC. As much as I love the Marvel universe, but most of the movies that just relied on more spectacle instead of just more character driven stories. And that's what the Harry Potter did. They built up until the last 2 movies, especially part 2, where now they're going all out. We're going to have spectacle. We're going to give you the wizarding battle that you've always wanted. And they delivered, and they gave us a complete story. And one of my favorite parts of the movie is with Harry and Sirius, when they were both talking about his past, about his mother, and then how much that I would love you to be my guardian. But towards the end of the movie, you start to realize that you just broke Sirius Black out of prison. And now he's a wanted fugitive. He can't take him in. He doesn't want to put him in danger that he's already in. So that's why he has to keep him be where he's at. And that's such a beautiful moment with Sirius and Harry, that, hey, you look like your father and you have your mother's eyes. And it was a beautiful moment, especially with the score. It just gives you the shivers.
Yeah. The score itself is very it is definitely easily one of my favorite parts of the movie. Of course, when Ryan was talking about the bridge scene, like the score just comes in, I'm like, oh, yes, it's so like It's so hauntingly beautiful. But I'll pass it over to Nicole.
Yeah, that bridge scene is actually one of my favorite scenes. Probably like top 2 in the whole franchise. I think it's so beautiful. And I think part of why I love this movie so much is just that it really is a movie that's largely about friendship. And like you said, Voldemort's really not present in it. And I think that allows us a bit of a pause, but it also shows us that Voldemort is not the only threat in the wizarding world. And that, we've also got sort of this threat from within that we initially think is serious, but come to find out is Peter Pettigrew. And I think that that's a really nice thing that we don't like. One of the best things about the Harry Potter franchise is that there isn't just one villain. It's layered, and it shows that, someone can't come to the top. Someone can't do that sort of level of destruction in a society without having other people working with them. And I think that's really compelling. And I just love this movie so much. It's one of my comfort films. I could watch it literally anytime. So thank you so much for letting me come ramble about it.
It's okay. You got to represent those Ravenclaws everywhere across the world. So somebody has to.
Yeah. Since the film wasn't willing to, I've got to do it myself.
That's for sure. It really is like, if someone doesn't, know much about Harry Potter, like they might as well just think this is the Gryffindor and Slytherin show, like, to be completely honest, because it's like, oh, who are those people? I'm like, oh, those are just the other houses.
Yeah.
Those are the extras.
But the big character of Ravenclaw was Luna. She had a bigger role in the for the fifth and then the final installment.
I love
those people are called scale workers.
Florence Pugh frown moment.
I was Hufflepuff number 564. You can find these. Yeah, it's, oh my gosh. I was watching Victorious the other day, old school Nickelodeon show. And we kind of made a joke about, there's like the core 6. And then they kind of made the joke of like, why does like Professor, Mr. Psychowitz always just ask us 6? Like, there are other people in this classroom. And it's like, they turn around, they're like, does anyone ever get a chance to speak? And they're like, no, that's not how I feel about, the Ravenclaws and the Hufflepuff. So up until, we get a little bit with Harry Potter, Goblet of Fire, aka Harry Potter where shit hits fan. So, but Harry Potter when shit hits the fan, that's pretty much what it should be called. Honestly, when shit hits the fan. But yeah, for my closing thoughts, it's like, I keep saying it's hauntingly beautiful. It really, really is. It's just, the themes of growing up and finding that everything, about growing up isn't always the best. We see Harry go through this trauma and kind of just discover the real secrets about his parents. And like you guys said, Voldemort isn't there, but this film definitely does set up very well for what's coming for Goblet of Fire, which should have been 2 parts, but I'll save that for the Goblet of Fire review itself. But overall, I really think that Alfonso Cuarón really he gave it his all with adapting this. The book's not super long either. I think it's maybe around the same length as Sorcerer's Stone, maybe like a little bit longer. But for what it was, I really do enjoy it, and it will remain in my top 3. Like, I don't think my Harry Potter like ranking really shifts all that much. Like, I do enjoy all of them, but this is the one where it's like, okay, it's time to get serious. It's time to, like Ryan said, like push this franchise in a different direction before it's too late to where, it's not just about like the mustache twirly, villain, like, oh, it was me all along. And like, oh my gosh, but it really is a special film, especially, for just, a lot of people going up like high anxiety or just like depression. Like, this really focuses in on that. And, with the Patronus charm, it really is showing, there is still light in this world. You just have to hone in on it and focus in on what makes you happy, no matter how, bad things get, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel for sure. But we'll close out here really quick. We'll have everyone go around the show here and tell everyone where you can find, your work and what you guys are working on. But I wanted to say, thank you guys so much for going on. This is officially one of our longest podcasts ever. That's okay. I blame Matt.
I blame Matt. That's Matt's fault.
It's my fault.
I go back.
It's my Ravenclaw long-winded.
No, we blame Nicole on this. It's all her fault.
I go back like each person's track is like, Matt only had like 20 minutes of talking time. Oh, no.
Exactly. That's why he's to blame.
This man was a blabbermouth.
I blabbermouth. Keep the party going. Let's go.
Yeah. But seriously, thank you guys again for coming on. We'd love to have you guys on for others. We're almost halfway there, Like I said, we're chugging along through Goblet of Fire next week, so that'll be a lot of fun. But we'll start with Nicole, then we'll go to Ryan, and then Matt, of where everyone can find you on the internet and where they can find your work.
Yeah, so I am on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd at Nicole Ackman 16, and I've got a link tree linked, I think, all three of those places where you can find different sites that I write for. I do a lot of writing and podcasting over at Next Best Picture, but also a handful of other sites as well. So the best place to find everything is just on Twitter, and then you can also see me, tweeting about Remus Lupin constantly.
It's true. She had an entire tweet about, is Remus Lupin a Hufflepuff?
I did. I got in an argument with someone. And they tried to claim that if he was not a Gryffindor, he'd be a Hufflepuff, and I had to prove that I was right because I'm a Ravenclaw.
I can't see the Hufflepuff. Not really.
Nope.
But Ryan, where can everyone find you?
Well, first of all, thank you, Christian, once again for having me on. And everyone should be following Christian if you're a listener of the show. And you should go and follow Matt and Nicole. They're both really great people. And follow Nicole and all her great writings. I've been reading it, and she's got a bunch more coming out because she just came back from film festival. And she's a great writer and a great friend. And I'm just happy to know her, let alone
so
to talk to her every now and then. As for me, you can find me selfishly now on Twitter at Ryan McQuaid 77. You can follow my writing over at In Session Film. You can find it at Awards Watch, Film Speak, and Awards Radar. And you can find me over at In Session Film doing the Extra Film podcast, as well as Chasing the Gold. And you can also find my other podcast that I do. Yes, I do all this, people. Called Busting the Block with Greg Kevin Lee. And you can find that at Busting the Block on Twitter.
That was a very Hufflepuff answer.
I guess I'm a Hufflepuff, baby.
There you go.
I don't know. Maybe I'll take a
Nicole's
quiz.
This great person. I'm like, yeah, she's.
Listen, if you identify as a Hufflepuff, then we've got someone from all four houses. So
that's true. We are all here together.
It's unofficial. It's unofficial.
At least for today, Ryan. Just for today.
Okay, just for today. Yes, then we have everybody here, but also everybody
podcast stays on.
But I'm serious when I say everybody do follow Nicole. She's wonderful.
That's so kind.
And I also do this because I'm her friend, but I also do this just to see the reactions from her face as well too. So it's great giving
it's
her
great doing
compliments.
like an audio podcast, and it's like, oh, for those not watching, because there is nothing to watch, it's just audio. This is
nobody's gonna see it.
She's crying just as much as if she was watching Little Women. You know what I mean?
That's such a good movie. I'm telling you.
You may not see her, but she's in tears already.
Nobody needs to see how I cry when I watch Little Women. No one needs to witness that.
That is the perfect Christmas movie.
Yes, it is actually just the perfect movie.
It really is. I saw two movies that day.
I got my little
nice
thing.
Nice. I like that. I saw two movies that day, and one of them was what was it? Oh my gosh, Adam Sandler, Uncut Gems. Did not like it. Well, I saw Little Women first because that's the movie I saw it both on Christmas Day. It was when they first came out. I was like, man, I can't wait to watch Uncut Gems. It's going to be amazing. And I was let down.
You picked the right one of those two as your favorite. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah. I love Adam Sandler. It's just that movie is not my favorite. I don't hate it because it's a very strong word. But let me pass over to Matt so he can tell everyone where they can find him on the internet and what's coming up work-wise for him.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Christian. I mean, I would love to come back and do more of this again. And it was great meeting you two, Ryan and Nicole. Go and follow these two people. They're awesome. And I had a lot of fun time talking to them, and definitely following Christian in this podcast. And it's a great podcast. Go and listen to it if you can.
I like how also, by the way, not to interrupt you, Matt, that you and I said to follow everyone, and Nicole selfishly only followed herself. I'm just saying.
Very Ravenclaw of you.
I'm just saying.
Sitting here feeling so guilty. Please go follow everyone on this podcast.
No, too late. Matt, continue.
Just kidding. Only follow me.
Nicole, you're selfish. All joke aside, you can follow me on Twitter just at MattWyatt651, and I have a link tree in my bio where I have a lot of social media platforms like Snapchat, Instagram, and I have a letterbox where I do my reviews. And if you want to see my novel of reviews where I just ramble on it, you can check that out. And I did a recent review called Dune.
They are they are novels. I can compare, but I'll go on Letterboxd, I'll rate it. I'll do a sentence or two. I think for Dune, I literally put "let the spice flow." That was it. I was like, well, I'll add more stuff into it. It's because I try to go back and plug stuff. I'm like, oh, this is too much. This is too much. But I don't know how Matt does it, but it's great because there's no way I can get all those. It takes me a while to write a piece, and then I reread it to make sure I'm making sense and stuff like that. So
yeah, and I always try to correct every time I mess up in some sentence because there's a stupid typo because I'm writing on my phone.
Yeah, the speech dictation isn't all that great either.
I'm trying to make it look professional.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You got to sound smart. Trying
to use the big words.
Yeah, you got to use the big. You go to Webster or whatever. It's all right, I need an alternative word for extravagance or something. I don't know. And it's yes. But really quick, everyone who's listening, what's coming up in the podcast. Of course, this is going to be dropping on Wednesday, the 27th of October. And then we have our Last Night in Soho review. I think we would usually drop that the Monday after, after the big weekend. But to kind of cap off Halloween, I'm not the biggest Halloween fan. I love, fall, but I like Thanksgiving better. And of course, Christmas is way better as well. But that's just me. I'm sorry if I'm breaking any hearts out there. Nicole's looking very perplexed.
How dare you?
It's okay.
Okay.
It's overrated. Halloween's overrated.
I don't hate it. It's not my least favorite.
Kids don't need candy.
I have mixed thoughts on Halloween. I'm just very excited to wear my Black Widow costume. So
I just like the pumpkin spice lattes that come out, but then again, pumpkins aren't spicy, so I'm very confused on that notion.
It's actually Dune promotion.
Yes, let the spice flow. It all comes back.
Flow.
It all
the pumpkin spice back. Dune lattes.
Desert power.
Fear's the mind killer.
Yeah. So of course, after that, Last Night in Soho, we'll have our Harry Potter and Goblet of Fire review kicking off in November, and then going through the rest of this amazing franchise. Like I said, it's draining, but I absolutely love it because it's Harry Potter, and I absolutely love it. It's the best thing ever. But just a reminder before we actually close out here, whether it is by book or by page, Hogwarts will always be there to welcome you home. So I'll close this out, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their week. So and that is a wrap for today. Thank you all for listening. And if you enjoy our show, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay in the know. That was Nicole, Ryan. My name is Christian. We'll see you guys in the next one.